Survival amid climate change in the Azawad Valley of northwestern Niger, the French documentary Marseille sur l'eau explores the impact of climate change in Africa.
Hoping to become a prime exporter of frozen chicken across the world by the middle of next year, the Cross River State government establishes a chicken processing factory. Hello, and thanks for tuning in to the show that goes around the continent to bring you stories near and far. I'm Joke Rogers at Channels Television here in Lagos, and I'm joined by Vincent McCory from the Voice of America in Washington.
Thanks, I'm Vincent McCory at the Voice of America. Happy to be with you again for another edition of Africa 54. Let's start off with the latest from Nigeria. Channels Television in Lagos brings you that story.
The Cross River State government in South Nigeria has established a chicken processing factory with production capacity of 24,000 birds per day in Calabar, the state capital. This is in line with the industrialization agenda of the state government and in support of the federal government. Governor Ben Ayade says his ambition is to see Nigeria become a prime exporter of frozen chicken across the world by the end of the second quarter of next year. He hopes this gesture will receive the necessary financial support from relevant authorities and urges other states to replicate same in the country. It's an inspection tour by delegates from the House of Representatives and the Central Bank of Nigeria to the poultry projects of the Cross River State government. The chicken processing factory, which has a capacity of 24,000 birds per day, is one of the numerous agro-based industries established by the government of Cross River State to create job opportunities and make money for the state. The aim of the tour is to evaluate the activities of both the poultry farm and that of the processing factory and possibly provide assistance when necessary.
We hope this thing will be supported by government, both the federal government and any financial institution, and also will back it by law. We'll raise it as a matter of urgent public importance. We have seen wonders, and we hope all the governors of the 36 states should emulate what Ayade is doing, because it's a noble development.
And for the Special Advisor on Development Finance to the CBN Governor, the vision of Governor Ayade should be celebrated, as the factory is a huge achievement.
I'm going back to tell my governor to say this program has started and we will need to do much more. Everything that we need to turn around or allow this project to run sustainably is available in Cross River. And that for me is another good point that we see that. So at the end, Cross River becomes a chicken hub, in the southeast, in south-south, being able to feed Port Harcourt, begin to feed Aba, begin to feed Onitsha, begin to export.
Governor Ben Ayade is excited about the chicken processing factory, which he says is experiencing an increase in demand with the Yuletide season.
We are processing 24,000 birds per day. We have orders across the country, and we are doing 24 hours production because we are struggling to meet the demand. By the close of second quarter of next year, Nigeria will be a net exporter of frozen chicken, and that's the ambition. Once we do that, we create a densification of the strength of the Naira, and that's how we will gradually begin to stabilize this country.
The state government is positive it will receive the necessary assistance from the federal government and finance institutions to boost the production capacity of farm and factory. Joining us to discuss this is an agropreneur, Mr. Oluwafemi Salami. Glad to have you today on Africa 54.
Thank you for having me.
So what do you make of Cross River State government's industrial drive? It cuts across, many of the agricultural sector.
It's laudable. This is what we should do to diversify our economy. And it's something that is every state, every subnational should invest in. The country is blessed with arable lands. The climatic factors supports agriculture. and we have the good population. And more importantly, it's also a very good venture to solve some of the socioeconomic problems in the country. Agriculture is one of the major sector that can sort the unemployment issue in the country. When people are fixed up, earning livelihood, they won't think of any form of atrocities or security challenges will be at the low ebb. So that's one of the things we should commend. And I want to salute what is happening in that state. It cuts across various value chain. As he puts it, his signature projects. We heard about the cocoa, econ, chocolate, the Bakassi deep sea ports, the rice farms, and the big one, which is the chicken, the kalachita, which is very laudable. And the beauty about it is it cuts across a lot of value chain. This is a processing factory, and you can't have processing factory without having backward integration into the poultry farm, and also the feedstock the poultry needs to eat. And when you're churning out 24,000 birds per day, that means you have a large, workforce from the farmers to the people that will be engaged on the poultry farm onto the processing line. It's commendable, and you should salute the governor.
The aim, according to Governor Yade, is to have Nigeria be a major exporter of frozen chicken by the end of the, I think, first quarter of 2022. That's how he puts it. How large do you think this can be?
This ambitious is, that's a governor with big dreams, and that's what I always want in this country. Other climes do it. What really comes to my mind is the revolution in Vietnam. Vietnam was around Nigeria in terms of some crops, most especially like cassava. Vietnam, as at today, is exporting $1 billion worth of cassava products. So if a governor in Nigeria can have these lofty ideas, it should be celebrated. And I want it to also, we need to, I have seen various state governors, embark on projects like this. The Kebbi state governor, the Ekiti state governor, the Ogun state governor, Ondo state governor, many other states. But I want them to take it as a signature, something that is like, it's not a spare tire. We don't have any alternative. I think our long dependence on oil had shifted our focus from what we should be, pursuing. The Vietnamese, the Thai, the people in Thailand, and they don't have any other alternative but agriculture. And that is what our president and every other political office holder should be looking at. We have all that it takes. We should look at it as no other alternative, and we can do it.
Okay, so you talked about other states. How do you think this gesture can be replicated in other states? You mentioned a few states. I know that Ekiti, they have...
no, further.
Apart from rice, they're doing cattle ranching, getting cattle from the United States.
The Ikunderi farm, where they are milking some hybrid cattle, into milk. Yeah, it is laudable. As I mentioned earlier on, the governors or some of the leaders at the subnational and the national level should look at agriculture as their, El Dorado, the only way out. The Chinese said, if we cannot feed ourselves, let's remain hungry. Ditto the Indian. That should be the clarion call. Everything, the income from oil is dwindling. And if you need to engage the teeming population, I just read the statistics. The poverty level is 40% in Nigeria. Unemployment is 33%. You can imagine over 66 million are out of job, and we can do agriculture. So each state government, state governor, at different levels should take areas that we have comparative advantage. You know, different states have that. Kano State is saying, look, I want to ranch cattle. I have, you know, a big, you know, expanse of land to do cattle ranching. So also, you know, Kebbi State, Ekiti State Governor, Ogun State Governor, and Cassava, you know, they are coming up with, you know, agro-processing zones. Those are the things we should encourage. And also encourage the private sector. You know, I'm a private sector, and I've seen where the shoe pinches. I lost over 23 million worth of farm to herdsmen. I want to believe in Cross River. They are doing a lot of PPP, MOUs, you know, with various private sector, but they should back them up.
Right. Thank you so much for your thoughts today, Agropreneur Mr. Oluwafemi Salami. Thank you for stopping by today on Africa 54.
Thank you very much for having me.
In the past year, Ethiopia has gone from a stable and prosperous anchor in the Horn of Africa to a country where a fractious civil war and famine now loom as a real possibility. VOA's United Nations correspondent Margaret Bashir looks at developments this past year.
Political tensions in Ethiopia boiled over in November 2020 between the government of Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and the Tigray People's Liberation Front, or TPLF. Tigray forces attacked a federal military base in their northern stronghold and tried to steal the army's weapons, saying they feared an offensive. Prime Minister Abiy struck back, launching what he said would be a quick military offensive against the rebels. But 13 months later, the fighting continues.
What became clear quickly in the course of the conflict is that there's unlikely to be any definitive military solution. And this has been the case throughout the course of 2021, and I don't see that changing in the future.
The parties have ignored international calls to stop fighting and talk.
Our concern is for a ceasefire that absolutely must happen. Humanitarian aid needs to reach all those that have suffered from this conflict, and we absolutely need to resolve these problems through political discussions and through dialogue.
The African Union has appointed former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo as a mediator. The United States has also tried to facilitate a settlement, sending Special Envoy Jeffrey Feltman to the country 3 times.
The positions are very, very entrenched. The struggle is an existential one. But unless those types of shifts are made and those sorts of conciliatory approaches are taken, then it could lead to some absolutely terrible outcomes.
The UN fears this country of more than 110 million people is on a disastrous trajectory.
What is certain is that the risk of Ethiopia descending into a widening civil war is only too real. That would bring about a humanitarian catastrophe and consume the future of such an important country.
Nearly 26 million people across Ethiopia need humanitarian assistance.
I think next year is going to be a year of drought, of famine, of the collision of climate and crisis that we have not seen these many years.
The convergence of crises makes it all the more imperative to find a peaceful settlement to the Tigray conflict.
I don't think that the world has a choice but to continue urgently and fervently to pursue diplomacy aimed at getting the parties to stop fighting, move a settlement of their outstanding disputes to a political track.
But as Ethiopia enters the new year, analysts and diplomats alike warn that the trend lines are going in the wrong direction. Margaret Bashir, VOA News, the United Nations.
It's time for a short break. As we do, we remind you to visit our website, channelstv.com, for news and programming around the clock. You can also find us at youtube.com/channelsweb. Still to come on the program, as Omicron prompts Zimbabwe to introduce mandatory quarantine for arrivals, many Zimbabweans cancel or alter their holiday travel plans. Uganda's Infectious Diseases Institute is test running a drone modified for the delivery of medications to islands with difficult terrains in Lake Victoria. If the trial is successful, it may be adopted on a larger scale to help to improve delivery of medicines for Uganda's public healthcare sector, which faces understaffing and shortages of basic medical supplies such as vaccines.
The trial of Uganda's drone program is funded by pharmaceutical company Johnson & Johnson and run by the government-run Infectious Diseases Institute. It delivers HIV drugs from a hospital to patients in rural hamlets in Kalangala, an 84-island archipelago. Other African countries like Ghana and Rwanda are already using drones to improve healthcare delivery. If the trial is successful, it may be adopted on a larger scale to help to improve delivery of drugs and medical supplies for Uganda's public healthcare system, which faces understaffing and shortages of basic medicines such as vaccines and other drugs, as well as medical supplies.
I personally have also been here in Kalangala for the last 4 years. I had also faced a lot of challenges to the point of almost drowning in water. So the drones project was actually brought to Kalangala to overcome the geographical challenges that are faced by the health workers together with the patients, mostly HIV-positive patients.
Kalangala's soaring HIV rate, estimated at about 27% of the population on the islands, is partly because of nomadic fishermen who move from one island to another. Deliveries of HIV medicines to the islands by boat are often disrupted by storms.
We have been facing a challenge of windstorms. As a result, the medical teams would not make it over here, and some people would end up not getting their much-needed medical supplies. However, since the coming of the Infectious Disease Institute and the drone project that they brought, things have gotten better.
The drones can fly in winds of up to 15 meters per second and heavy rain, although the research team is restricting this to 5 meters per second and light to medium rain to be safe. The drones also speed up delivery times so it is easier to find windows of calm weather.
When we are starting the mission, we have to ensure that we have the correct location or the correct mission that we have fed into the controller corresponds to the mission that the drone has accepted.
The trial program, which for now is delivering only antiretrovirals, will last until June, when it will be assessed.
Welcome back to Africa 54. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. A documentary about the impact of climate change in Africa was a highlight at the annual French Film Festival in Los Angeles this year. The festival, City of Light, City of Angels, or Colcoa, draws filmmakers from Paris and fans from Los Angeles. Michael Sullivan reports on the documentary Marche sur l'eau, released in English as Above Water, which is causing a buzz.
A Los Angeles gathering of French actors and filmmakers, along with Americans who love international film. Among the annual French Film Festival's offerings this year, a story of survival amid climate change in the Azawak Valley in northwestern Niger.
And the children most specifically have to do 10 kilometers back and forth several times a day to go get water for the whole village.
Taking time away from schooling. Filmed over the course of a year, the French filmmakers returned to the village 5 times.
And we're supposed to go 6 times, but then COVID hit and everything was locked down, so we had to cancel this last visit.
The film marks the directorial debut of Aïssa Maïga, a French actress who was born in Senegal. She and the filmmakers worked with the non-profit group Aman Iman, whose name means water is life in the region's language. Chronicling the struggle to have a well dug in the village, it's a story now playing out in many other communities.
It's really about the emotion of the people there, their life, and through emotion we think we can actually access a change of awareness.
Along with raising that awareness, the filmmakers urge viewers to support the expansion of the network of village wells. The festival offers exposure and possible distribution deals for French films and television shows, which have a new audience because of streaming platforms.
Like Netflix and Amazon, of course, that they're able actually to create an audience for foreign programs. It's not only French film or European film, as you know, it's also Asian. And it's really a big change in the American culture.
As film becomes globalized, he says, it is increasingly addressing global problems. Mike O'Sullivan, VOA News, Los Angeles.
The emergence of the new coronavirus, Omicron, is prompting Zimbabwe to introduce mandatory quarantine for arrivals, forcing many Zimbabweans to cancel their travel plans for the Christmas and New Year holidays. Many are determined to make these trips despite the quarantine mandate for the local bus drivers. The last 2 years have been extremely difficult for their businesses due to the pandemic and quarantine costs.
On a normal Christmas, the undercarriage of Augustine Chibaye's bus would be packed with the belongings of Zimbabweans looking to make the at least 15-hour trip home from neighboring South Africa to see their families. Instead, it's empty. Bus drivers like Chibaye had been hoping for a bumper festive season to help their businesses, reliant on a steady stream of travelers between the two nations recover from COVID-19. However, the emergence of Omicron prompted Zimbabwe to introduce mandatory quarantine for arrivals, forcing many to cancel their plans.
Yeah, since COVID started, we don't have a business. You look as you see, it's very quiet. Even the booth, I have no business. This quarantine, this is COVID killing our business. So people they are scared when they go into Zimbabwe, they are getting quarantine. So no one business as usual. It's compared another years. So this year there's no business.
For Albert Mawere, a local bus driver, the last 2 years have been extremely difficult, having last seen his family and children in 2018 due to financial constraints. He's determined to travel despite the quarantine mandate. When himself and his wife arrived in Zimbabwe, he had to also borrow money in order to afford their quarantine costs.
I'm going to travel 3 days, you see. And you see, as they say that when they quarantine us, we must use our own, you see, monies, you see. Yeah, we are prepared to do that, you see, because we stayed a long time here in South Africa, you see. So we must see our parents also, yeah.
Augustine Chibaye's firm would normally send 4 buses per day with up to 60 passengers during December. Now it sends 1, sometimes with as few as 5 people on board. He and all the drivers at Central Johannesburg bus station say the loss of business has affected their ability to support their families.
Omicron surge has affected business a lot because quite a number of people are no longer able to travel. And also on our side, we cannot be able to make plans for the holiday, considering that we have to, especially the issues of quarantine. If you get into quarantine now, you're going to take about 14 days, and then the holiday is already over.
Unfortunately, the hope of these drivers for a bumper festive season has been dimmed, and they wonder when things will change back to normal.
Well, and that's our show for today. You can find all the continent's top news and world news online at voaafrica.com. I'm Vincent Makori in Washington. Channels Television has our last word from Lagos.
We look forward to bringing you another show next week. To remember that channelstv.com is your source for news and other programming. I'm Joke Rogers. Thanks for watching and goodbye.